second week of April. I want to be excited to be here.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you have a nice tie too.
Let me say good morning.
That's a nice suit.
But let me say good morning to Patrick of Preyman Clothing in East Legon. Thanks for the tie. It's,
cynicism
he's
in
a
this
good
lab.
friend.
The cynics are working
He's able. He's able.
in your favor.
He's able. God is able. Okay, front pages, guys.
Let's start with the goods trade business. 4 billion Ghana cedis non-bank bailout impending. 4 billion needed to secure depositors, overdue recapitalization to be implemented, new corporate governance directives to be enforced. That story comes with a photograph of the finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. Immigration ready to process business permits in 48 hours, and cargo costs set for sharp reduction. Those are the stories on the front page of the Gold Street Business.
The Daily Statesman is reporting this morning, First Lady unveils Chinese art exhibition. It's one which says Sankofa is a risk too far. John Body warns that the NDC Mahama alternative is too scary. Now, Akufo-Addo calls for stronger Ghana-Cuba ties. Those are the stories on the front page of the Daily Statesman.
The Daily Guide newspaper has baby kidnapper's mother speaks blow by blow how Anas boy killer were grabbed. MPP bills NDC destroys. Say no to Mahama. That's the Jombodi story which Raymond reviewed. GRA Korea Kasam sign MOU on Unipass. NDC orders members to get Ghana card.
Now, the New Crusading Guide is reporting this morning Zoom Lion builds $20 million integrated recycling compost plant to recover waste for industrial use. There's one also about why we need a peaceful UEW. And this is coming from, you know who? Oh, okay, so the member of parliament for the area, the honorable Alexander Afenyoake.
He's becoming quite ubiquitous in that issue, isn't he?
In fact, the ubiquity of the man in this matter is known.
The Ghanaian Observer newspaper has the say no to Mahama story here. Ghanaians abroad call for implementation of RUPA, representation of the People's Amendment Law. Lotto marketing companies appeal to President Akufo-Addo for stimulus package. Lord NLA's solar-powered e-kiosk project. The Zoom Lion story is here as well. Those are the stories on the Ghanaian Observer newspaper front page.
Now, the Ghanaian Times is reporting this morning, President pays tribute to late Fidel Castro in Cuba, arrest on earned salaries in public sector. This according to a regional minister, member of parliament too. And there's a story about government going to withdraw all the unapproved charges and the fees at the ports, and this is geared towards making you feel more reductions in reality at the port too. So that's what's been reported by the Ghanaian Times.
Okay. The Chronicle newspaper has Bawumia asking critics, do you pay your taxes? And this is a quote. In fact, this is regardless of political party. When you hear people criticizing the government that it has not done anything, if you ask them, do you file your taxes? They will keep quiet. That's what Bawumia is saying. Also on the front page of the Chronicle newspaper, town hall meeting, train stops in London, MPP bills, NDC destroys is also here. Those are the major stories on the front page of the Chronicle newspaper.
Let's move on to the Finder. Finder is also talking about tax, but this time around, it's saying that tax filing has been made very, very easy. All line systems are in place. There's one about Ghanaians in the UK hailing that particular town hall meeting. So from Accra to the UK, we're looking out for the next stop anyway. But the National Road Safety Commission is to establish, not has established, is to establish 100 emergency response and first aid posts nationwide. And this goes directly to Malik, and you know why?
Why?
You have to say hello to the lady in charge of the National Road Safety Commission.
And Malik's very good friend.
Yes.
Do you remember the show we had with her?
Of course.
Hey, Malik. Okay, you go ahead.
Yes.
No, Daily Graphic. You say what's on the front page of the Daily Graphic.
The Daily Graphic newspaper has a rather very beautiful photograph of some doctors. And the headline is historic. Ghana performs first brain surgery without cutting skull. Also on the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper, feedback crucial for governance. Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah, Information Minister. Don't implement popular but hurtful policies. Guess who's saying that? Former Finance Minister said. Tekpe. Back page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Liberty ditch inter-allies. Women's special competition semis. Ampem Dakwa down prisons ladies. And I can't miss this one. Kotoko lead in Zone A.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, with you on that particular matter too. You are with us?
Please, I'm with Media Myers.
Of course.
yes, I have to support my own.
The very last paper before me is that of the GNPC demanding some $250 million to fuel power plants. That's according to the Herald. There's one also about bust workers petitioning the presidency and others over MD's conduct. The last one says National Security Head of Operation fights Yoko boss over state bungalow, and that's on the front page of the Herald paper.
So Malik, how were Ahmed Hussein Swale's killers now?
Yes, so this is a story done by A.R. Gomda, an editor at the Daily Guide newspaper, and he's saying that it is emerging that one of the key suspects in the murder of Ahmed Swale, an operative with Tiger Eye investigation, was arrested, handed over to the police, but the guy was released. You remember that last week or the week before, the CID boss denied this allegation. But the family of Ahmed Swale, the spokesperson for this family, Al-Hassan Yunus, is insisting that the guy was indeed arrested. In fact, he says that after the murder of Ahmed Swale, the family put together a team to help the police to arrest the persons that they believe played roles in the murder of Ahmed Swale. This team arrested one person at Riz Junction in Medina. This person was handed over to the police. Then they arrested a second person. This second person, when he was arrested, was also handed over to the police. Now, Ahmed Yunus is claiming that they had a tip-off that this person was at a particular place near the Medina area. They went there, arrested the person, and even before he was arrested, they informed the Kutobabi police. Now, when they arrested the guy, they handed him over to a 4-man squad of the Kutobabi police, and then the police took him away. Then they headed to the Kutobabi police to wait for the police to come. He said the police arrived without the person, and they wondered why. Ahmed Yunus said he specifically asked the police, "Where is the guy?" And the police said, this is what he said, and the paper quoted, "We waited for a long time, and when the patrol team arrived, the suspect was not with them. When we demanded the whereabouts of the suspect, the police said the suspect made a call, after which they were asked to release him, which they obliged. They claimed that there was an order from above for the release." When I asked
Did they
why,
say who the order was coming from?
they didn't say. When I asked why a suspect in a murder case would be allowed such a courtesy of a phone call and an eventual release, they could not give a convincing response. This is Yunus talking to the Daily Guide and explaining what happened. And it's difficult to understand, to reconcile this story and the story told by the police CID boss, because the police CID boss, part of the story aligned perfectly with this story about the police having received a tip-off and one police officer going to the area where this suspect was, and whilst on his way they got a call that this suspect was about to move, and even though they had called for backup, this single police officer had called for backup, he had to go because they had been informed by an informant that the guy was about to move. And so he went there, arrested him, and the people around then helped the person to resist arrest, and fearing for his life, the police officer allowed the person to abscond. This is the version of the police. The family version is completely and radically different from this version, even though at some point there is a certain confluence between the two stories, i.e. the location where the suspect was, and the fact that tip-offs were given, they knew that this guy was there, attempts were made to arrest him. The family says he was indeed arrested and handed over to the police, but the police say he made a call and they were ordered to release him. By who, they don't say.
So the suspect is at large now?
The suspect is at large now, as the police indicated to us in their press conference.
So interesting claims and counterclaims. Raymond, I can't help but admitting that it's similar to the story of the economy.
Yes, certainly. And you do know that when the town hall meeting was done, the vice president eloquently pointed out the state of the economy and made some specific references. Just the next day, there was response from the NDC, and one of the people that took on the data that the vice president used is Kissel Atufosi, the minority spokesperson on finance. You do recall also that after that, the NPP on Sunday did a press conference. This press conference was to come back and say, no, Atufosi got it completely wrong. Especially the data in contention is about fiscal data. And you sure can make reference to the fact that when the vice president said that in the year 2016, the fiscal deficit was 9.3, and again in figure 7 and 8, he had referenced the rebase figure being 6.8. That is what Atufosin went in for. He went in for the rebase figures and said, no, you can't be making reference to that one, or even be mixing them in this particular case, as was done from the proud 2014 figures that the vice president gave in there. Again, now, the MPP came out to say that no, Atufosin lied completely about the figures and all of that. But the interesting part is that you do recall that in that vice president's statement, he both stated the 9.3 for 2016, and that's fiscal deficit, and also 6.5. Now, one thing that you'll be interested in right now is that the current annual debt report, which is mandated by government to be put before Parliament, which they presented last Friday, has the fiscal deficit for that period, 2016, to be 6.8.
Okay.
So, no, 6.5. So the vice president said was 6.8. The figure that's been quoted in our annual debt report, which is currently before Parliament,
is different from what the vice
president also said. Indeed, to be fair, the defense for the vice president was that the figure he was using was in the mid-year budget for the year 2017.
You know, that is the challenge I have, Raymond, that we don't have a time, and that is what we established on Friday, that the analysis that was done by the vice president and Mr. Adongo, they differ in timing. So that both of them took different periods to look at the figures. And if you look at the different periods, they tell a different story of the economy, which could be good for the MPP or bad for them, which some would say would be good for the NDC.
Yeah, that's interesting, because the earlier response was that no, you can't depend on provisional data on the website of the Ministry of Finance. But this is our annual debt report, and this is annual debt report for 2018. Which seems to be more updated than what was put before Parliament in 2017 and the mid-year after that particular period. But that is basically what the NPP is saying.
Okay.
The other issues that they are also raising is that, now listen, they are saying the NPP builds the country. The evidence is that the economy is always better under the NPP compared to the NDC that destroys the country. So they say that the NDC is very notorious for taking us to external credit facility programs with the IMF and all of that after messing up the state in very terrible forms. And Jobwadi took his time to now look at the other data, comparing how we were faring by international rating agencies under both governments and how we've improved within that process. And he said that there's some reckless arrogance in the conduct of the NDC, when after destroying the economy in many forms and admitting they destroyed the economy, proceeds to now come and tell the people of this republic that the NPP rather is not doing the right thing. Instead of sitting back and allow them fix the problems that they put in place in that particular case. He gave an example of this recent port duty reductions. He says the reality of that is that
whilst the benchmark value reduction.
Yes, whilst the NDC sat down and allowed some of these people who did importations suffer reckless money loss and all of that, the NPP have seen the suffering of the people who are in the space and are actually reducing it in meaningful forms. Okay. And on that one, I recall the executive secretary of the Importer and Exporter Association saying that they imported and exporters yes, they are going to complain to the vice president that the custom people and the leader of the customs office is going contrary to the directive the vice president gave. Really? You know that the statement that was issued to West Blue Consulting said to distinguish between the payment to the cars and say after the cars it can have effect directly on that. And on the second one, the other goods. All the goods, yes, all the other goods. It's supposed to be at the determination of the customs officers in this case. Okay. In fact, Samson believes that is completely contradictory to what was stated or said by the vice president. And they want the vice president to call the guy to order, if not sack him immediately.
Because they don't have the effect of the 50 and 30% at the ports, it won't be good at all, because that has been the exact claim of the NDC. Anyway, Malik, so that was the response to the response to the vice president's town hall in Accra. I wonder if there will be a response to the one in London.
In fact, there are actually comments on the vice president's town hall meeting outside the jurisdiction, which is happening in London, which is led by Information Minister Kojo Nkrumah.
Okay.
And he is saying that the government welcomes feedback. And he said the government believes that periodic feedback from the citizens on its policies and programs are very, very crucial in determining and responding to the expectations on a sustainable basis. And the information minister was saying this at the first diaspora town hall meeting in London. So, of course, there was a town hall meeting led by economic management team in Ghana. There was a town hall meeting also happening in London, where the information minister and other government functionaries were talking about the things that the government is doing back home in Ghana. And some of the issues that came up in this town hall meeting were issues relating to taxes, port duties, bribery and corruption, energy, the rail sector, health and security. These were the major issues that dominated the discussions there. And Information Minister gave assurances that the government is working hard to fulfill some of the promises that it made to the Ghanaian people in the 2016 election, but also encouraging the people to give feedback, because it is on the basis of that feedback that the government will be guided in its conduct and as it works to fulfill its promises to the people.
But the government itself is also giving feedback to the Comptroller and Accountant General.
Yes, so another government body in this particular case, and this is coming from the now regional minister for the Northeast region. This is Solomon Namleboa. His concern is that there are some public servants today whose ultimate role is to either be completely absent from their roles in office or decide to go to work when they like and also leave the office when they like. So his complaint is that some go to the office at 11 and close at 2. They give the excuse that it rained last night, so they couldn't really wake up early and get to the office on time. He says some also decide to run away to schools and abandon their original duty. He's also complaining about the general conduct of public servants in this country. And I'm sure you and I have talked about how some people do not earn their keep in this country, and yet are working in wonderful public offices. They don't provide the service, and yet they are paid for providing the service. Now, the minister is saying that before you give me the staff for my place, please make sure these are people who deserve to be here. 1, 2, who are hardworking. 3, who would be paid because they worked. The controller should immediately fast-pace the process. Don't wait for a year or another year after for you to come and say that, oh, you didn't work in 2017, so we are going to prevent you from getting your salary. We would immediately, if you fail to turn up for the days required, make sure that we hold that part of your salary or completely take you out of the job in this case. And he's also asking that this be done in all the other regions so that public service can be given the due recognition it deserves and people can be paid for doing the work. You do recall that the Auditor General recently, threatened that if you don't really do the work, I will take your salary. And again, if you fail to make sure that you do the right things and you also fail to submit your reports or work on the audit reports, and those who are failing to respond to these audit inquiries, he's going to make sure that their salaries are suspended ahead of going to respond to the queries.
We need to be able to save some of these monies, really.
Yes.
Because you know how, Malik, about close to 90% of all our tax revenue goes into paying wages and salaries and servicing debt. It hardly leaves any money to implement any policies in this country.
Absolutely not. And it is the reason why former Finance Minister Mr. Setekpe is advising government to not implement policies which are popular with the electorate, but which have the tendency to hurt the economy in the long run.
So that the 10% that we have left, we will use it well.
Absolutely. He's saying that the recent introduction of a 50% cut in benchmark values, which Raymond just brought us, and 30% for vehicles, 50% for other goods, he does not think it's good enough, because in his view this can only lead to a reduction in how much revenue comes to government. Already we know that perennially the government has not met its own revenue target. I remember 2017, 2018, the government not meet its revenue target. 2017, when the government set its target, the government was reminded that that target was ambitious. The finance minister at the time said that in order to be able to do all of the things that the government had promised the Ghanaian people, it had to be ambitious in its outlook in terms of the revenues that it was going to generate. Nonetheless, there was a shortfall. Last year was the same thing. This year, it's not looking like we are going to achieve the target, that the 45 billion target that we set ourselves as revenue to raise.
Particularly since the Vice President has mentioned that the next 6 months may see a drop in revenue because of this cut in benchmark values.
That's
at
precisely
the
what Setekpe is saying. He says that if you cut these benchmark values, they may be popular amongst the electorate because people will celebrate them. But in the end, the government will not achieve its revenue target, which will hurt the economy in the long run.
You see, so government's plan, Raymond, is that more people can easily file their taxes, which is why this online system has been launched, isn't it?
Yes, and that tax filing system, filing taxes, the irregularities around compounding taxes are some of the issues that really determines our ease of doing business in this country. And also, if you've read the barometer from the AGI, the tax regime has always been a complaint for them. In fact, sometimes they call it killer taxes in the first place. Now, the GRA is making sure that you can sit in your home, in your office, and still file taxes. You can, on your own, make sure you use what is called the ITAP system and make sure that you can file the taxes so that you don't go and join a queue, which is a major disincentive for people, and they have complained consistently about that. This is regardless of the fact that filing taxes is a legal mandatory act that every Ghanaian is supposed to do. Indeed, not long ago, the GRA boss was in the mood to move into churches. You remember we did that story here to compel the business sections of their entity to file the taxes required, because he was shocked that the affluent and flamboyant lifestyle of some of these pastors did not match the taxes being paid by their units in any way. That's if they were paying at all. Okay. So that is one of the drives to make it happen. For a country that could have 5 million people paying taxes, we only have currently 1.2 million paying taxes, which is a major concern for the GRA, which is going to be having lower numbers due to the pot reductions. It has to rake in more money and be able to represent your tax properly. But there's something that we should also know. You can get tax rebates in Ghana. It's not impossible for you to get money from the GRA.
But people don't file the tax. How do you even get tax rebates when you don't file the tax in the first place?
So that's why I was at the launch of, we were briefed on this ITAPS program last week by the GRA. And it seems like it's something that we could really use to make filing of our taxes more convenient. For me, we are moving into an era where you will need a TIN number to do a number of things, like open a bank account and what have you. If we are able to make it incumbent on the Ghanaian to have a TIN number so that they can pay their taxes, I think we are going to.
Number.
Yes, thank you. So it's not a TIN number; it's a TIN. Thank you, Malik. Yes, we would be able to, rake in more cash there. Malik, let's make history.
Yeah. So a 7-member team of Ghanaian doctors have performed the first ever brain surgery without cutting the skull. This was a 2-hour surgery, which was done with modern equipment and computer software at the Eurocare Advanced Diagnostics and Heart Center, a private facility in Accra. International cardiologist Dr. Benjamin Dabo Sarkodie, and the name was really almost Dabo, but this is Dabo Sarkodie, led the team that did the surgery. The rest of the doctors came from Kolobu Teaching Hospital and this center. So we have achieved yet another first.
Congratulations to these doctors. God bless them so much. And we seek many more of such quality work here in the country. It's time for the online news review. It's brought to you by Zenith Bank in your best interest and Goyle Good Energy. Now, be that person who makes payments anytime and anywhere. You can even be making payments in your car whilst you're sitting in traffic, as long as you are not driving fast whilst you're driving, whilst you're texting. You can pay your bills, top up airtime, effect instant transfers, top up investments, and so much more on the Zenith mobile app. Avoid delays, keep afloat. It also means that you don't need to, you're not limited to banking hours. So anytime during the weekend after 5 p.m., you can do all the banking you want. Just go on the App Store or Google Play Store and use the Zenith Bank mobile app. Go light. It's faster and smarter. We always know that Zenith Bank operates in your best interest. Now, you can make your day productive, not just by saving time on the Zenith mobile app, but by relying on quality fuel from Goyle, your 3-time CIMG Petroleum Company of the Year. The Super XP and Diesel XP are additivated to enhance strong engine performance and prolong the lifespan of your vehicle. Above all, you are guaranteed extra quality with our fuel analyzer from our mobile laboratory van. Get your money's worth every day by buying fuel and lubricants from any of Goyle's over 360 service stations nationwide and experience good energy. Buy Goyle, grow Ghana. Goyle, good energy. Goyle, Yenara Yedia. Academic freedom under threat. Professor Jampo condemns bogus, in quote, draft public universities bill. Why is political science lecturer at University of Ghana, Prof. Yao Jampo, calling this public universities bill, draft public universities bill, bogus? We'll be finding out today on the Super Morning Show. Government is beginning the rollout of emergency response and first aid posts on highways. That's from Malik's friend May Obriyabo of the National Road Safety Commission. It's impossible to manage Ghana's economy without borrowing. Professor Godfred Bockpin speaking there on Newsfile on Saturday. Akufo-Addo government doing better than Mahama did. Abdul Malik Kweku Bako Jr. backs Bawumia. Other online stories are from the BBC.com. Kirstjen Nielsen was the U.S. Homeland Security Chief, and he has resigned. Guys, she has resigned. Kirstjen, U.S. Homeland Security Chief, has resigned. And should be temporarily replaced by the Customs and Border Protection Commissioner, Kevin McKeelanan. Okay, it's a lot of brothel here. All right, then. Mr. Trump is losing more of his staff members. Very, very interesting news coming in from the U.S. I'm sure the BBC News at 7 will have more of that. We'll go for that shortly. But let's take these messages first.